Welcome to the Connecting with Coincidence radio show with Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD, bringing together the world's synchronicity experts to help you use meaningful coincidences to develop spiritually, psychologically, and practically. For more information, put Connecting with Coincidence into your web browser to find the book, website, Psychology Today blog, YouTube channel, and Facebook page. And now, here is the host of the Connecting with Coincidence radio show, Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD.
Yes. I am Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD, host of Connecting with Coincidence. Welcome to the show. Carl Jung led the development of synchronicity theory, and I am making meaningful coincidence more practical. They are messages to us earthlings about the true nature of reality, messages we can try to decode. They tell us that our minds are interconnected and are part of a greater mind that I call the psychosphere, the Earth's mental atmosphere, that each of us has human GPS, the ability to get where we need to be without knowing how. Look for their helpful advice of your coincidences, their evidence for deep connections with those you love. Put Connecting with Coincidence in your web browser to read my Psychology Today blog, my book, Connecting with Coincidence, and take the Weird Coincidence survey on my website to see how sensitive you are to coincidences. Connect with Coincidence, synchronicity spoken here. Our guest today is Amelia Karris, Amelia Aeon Karris, who has been a wayseer throughout her career, spanning technology, fashion, entertainment, intentional community design, and spirituality. Divine guidance has led Amelia to live a purposeful life at the edge of our collective evolution. Her entrepreneurial ventures led her to Japan and India, where she spent a decade working with those nations' elite businesses and spiritual leaders. Amelia received a BA in Consciousness, Healing, and Ecology and is apprenticed in a number of mystery schools. Over the last decade, Amelia has helped thousands of people to liberate their minds, navigate expanding realities, and live out their divine destinies. She has recently released the third edition of her book, Synchronicity, Unlock Your Divine Destiny. Amelia, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Bernie. It's great to be here.
There's so many things that you've said in your bio that I want to get to and try to understand. What do you mean about your multisensory awareness?
That's a great question. Well, I had an awakening in 2003 that sort of blasted open my cities. I don't know if you're familiar with that term, but it's...
I am. And the cities, generally speaking, is what I'm trying to suggest coincidences can help people awaken in themselves.
Absolutely.
And the ones that I focus on are pretty much under the parapsychological ones, and I've added a few like human GPS, the ability to be where you need to be without knowing how you got there. When you talk about cities, what was awakened in you?
Well, it was kind of an overnight phenomena. When my father passed away, I watched his spirit leave out of the top of his head, and it looked like a jellyfish as it moved up out of his body. And as he kind of departed up through the ceiling, these gold packages fell out of the sky and into my chest. And from that moment on, my eyes changed. So I started to see basically the space between us was filled of information. And then I just started to know things, and I had all these incredible abilities that before that time I did not have. I was always somewhat psychic and had a sixth sense and had premonition dreams and past life recall, but that sort of visual shift was very, very profound and took me many years to hone and develop and understand that it was truly a gift, because it was quite overwhelming to my senses. It was hard to cope with that much information for quite a number of years.
Hone and develop. I
Yeah.
like that pairing of words, because what I'm learning to do is hone and develop my intuitive capacities. And intuition covers a lot of territory. We don't realize it. For me, it is tuning into various, what I'll call voices or urges or impulses or drives or senses to go here, go there, think that, do this, do that. What is it? What do you do? What did you have to hone? A lot more stuff than what I'm working on, it seems.
Mm-hmm. Well, it did start like that. I loved how you said the human GPS. One of the things that happened right after my father's death was he became my GPS. So I was driving around his old neighborhood and he would tell me, turn right, turn left. And I thought, this has got to be crazy. I'm seeing my dead father sort of floating over my right shoulder and like explaining me how to get places. But he was always right. So it was not just the two parts. Synchronicity has always played a really huge role in my life in terms of honing my intuition. I left home very young and I didn't have, a lot of education or skills. So I relied on my second sense or, this intuitive guidance to guide me through different countries and wherever I was traveling. But when I had the awakening, it added a layer of complexity. So I was getting a lot more information. The spirit realm was open to me. So, not just seeing my discarnate father, but other dimensional beings as well. There was an entire universe upon universe that was open to me. And I had to navigate between these different very real realities that other people can't see or interact with. So there wasn't a lot of people to help me. I sought out, shamans and mystics all over the world, looking for someone who could see the way I did and could help me develop. And I found people here and there who had similar capacities. But I found that it was kind of dangerous to have so much information. A lot of people didn't like that that I could see so much, whether it was just my family members who were frightened by my vision because, I would be able to deliver messages and things that, and know things about them that they didn't particularly want me to know. So it left for a very interesting, discovery and challenge.
When you say deliver messages, what do you mean?
Well, the first thing that started happening with my father was, he died unexpectedly and he left a lot of mess behind in terms of he didn't have a will and he didn't really get to say goodbye to people. And so because I could hear him, he wanted me to deliver messages. And in fact, he kind of forced me to, against my will. Like I really wouldn't want to talk about it because, most people don't believe in the afterlife, or the people I was around found that extremely strange that a spirit could speak through someone. But for me, it was extremely real. I mean, I could see him standing there and I could hear him very loudly. And he would tell me things to tell them, like tell them, about our childhood time when this happened, something that I would never be able to know. And then that person would just cry and say, how could you know that? And stop, you're scaring me. And so it was not very comfortable to be a messenger of a disappointment.
I understand that now. You were kind of a personal medium. It was your father, it wasn't to somebody else, and it was to your relatives and other people that you knew. Yeah. As we have about 2 minutes left in this segment, I'd like to know how you define synchronicity, because it's a part of your life. There's much more, but how do you define it? It's the title of your book, Synchronicity: Unlock Your Divine Destiny. How do you define the term?
Synchronicity to me is the golden network that connects us all. It's that unseen hand that's weaving us and guiding us onto our path. So I see it like a golden network.
Jung used the word in two different ways, and one of them is similar to what you just said. Unus mundus was his term, or his idea, that synchronicity was an acausal connecting principle, that it helped put ideas together and people together in ways that are not the usual causal ways of doing things, that that events were connected by meaning. But they also meant what we sometimes will put under the term cities or parapsychological capacities, that sometimes it was thinking something and having that something happen around you, and it became sometimes telepathic or precognitive, and sometimes it was not explainable in that way. There were a lot of different definitions for synchronicity. This idea that things fall together in time, that things happen around the same time and have something to do with each other, not always, that there's a symbolic world around us that we can pay attention to. These are all a range of definitions, but you have one here that I like to think about. I call the psychosphere our Earth's mental atmosphere, and it's the same idea that we are connected somehow, and coincidences help us understand how that works. You're listening to Connecting with Coincidence with your host, Bernie Beitman, MD, on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, and our guest today is Amelia Karris.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
You have heard of the X-Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV. Plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X-Zone, Sci-Fi, and Horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
We live in rapidly shifting times of extreme volatility and uncertainty. Such profound change brings a unique opportunity for the evolution of consciousness. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, host of Mission Evolution Radio Show, a program that explores the latest scientific developments and deepening spiritual truths supporting human evolution. Join me on xzbn.net, where I interview leading experts in science, physics, medicine, spirituality, and more. By applying divergent viewpoints to leading-edge topics, we uncover expansive and evolutionary truth to assist you on your path to enlightenment. More information and past episodes are available at missionevolution.org.
Welcome back to CC with BB, Connecting with Coincidence with Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD, and that is me. Our guest today is Amelia Aeon Karris, author of Synchronicity, Unlock Your Divine Destiny. And you have a definition of of synchronicity that is worth getting into. It's that golden network that connects us all. And for me, coincidences help develop a map, a cartography of that golden network. Could you please describe your experience and understanding of that golden network?
Sure. Most simply put, it's magic made manifest. So it's all of the beautiful kind of unseen magic that we can connect to. And when we have a synchronicity, it's like manifesting right before us, that wonder, that awe of how we are all connected. And the way I see it, in my spiritual eye is literally this tapestry of golden light, sort of directing and guiding. It's like our soul's mission and destiny. So for me, it's like following open doorways or gateways and allowing synchronicity to just guide my next move and my next discovery. And sometimes that's can be challenging and not, it's not always blissful, but what's amazing is how important the lessons are along the journey. And a lot of people call me up and tell me their synchronicities, and sometimes it's like they think that because it's a synchronicity it must mean yes, like go for it, or
right. And it doesn't mean that. It means it makes it clear that you have to make the choice right there. It's an offering, it's an opportunity, and it also could be a diversion, and you have to be able to decide that yourself.
Exactly.
You've just switched definitions, which is part of the problem that I'm trying to address. The golden network is where we started, but you talked about people talking to you about synchronicities, which are particular events, which I also called coincidences. And those coincidences have meaning, and they could be go this way or that, or here's an opportunity, take it, or maybe you better not if you think about it. And that's what I was also asking you about is what are those coincidence things? How do you define synchronicity in terms of coincidences?
So it's like when you're, it's challenging to describe, but I guess it's
yes, that's what I'm doing. That's why I'm doing all this stuff. It's challenging to describe. It's fuzzy, and I'm saying, look, I'm developing a taxonomy here where, okay, these are the basic elements of a synchronicity or a coincidence. These are the basic explanations. These are the basic uses. These are the basic themes, and this is how we think about the probabilities of coincidences. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah. You have your work cut out for you.
Well, I've gotten pretty far with it. I've got all that laid out now, so I'm writing a second book on the subject. So that's why I was trying to see how you're thinking about it. And you did not get the education I got. We come from two different places, and I've had to crawl out of my education to try to get someplace with this stuff. And you've gone to outer space pretty much and trying to be able to make it real for people on the planet. So it's kind of two different directions we're coming at this from.
Yeah, and I think that just to answer or try to answer the question, because it's not an easy question to answer, but following the coincidence unfolds step by step. So it's like, I like what you said about the GPS, but it's just this knowingness, and I feel that symbols, and to me, it's mostly nature and the natural world that communicates to me. Animals, insects, clouds.
How about trees?
Yeah, trees, definitely. The weather, rainbows, like they're very connected in how that it's through the natural world that most of my synchronicities arise. It's not just through people and interacting with people. Mm-hmm.
That's very cool. That's very cool because you live near or on Mount Shasta, right, in Northern California.
Right mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I camped there one night, overnight, and it's a fantastic place, and it's a magical place. So that you're there in nature, and you're reading the symbols. I'm going to say the guidance that various parts of nature can give you, and that's a different place to be than people living in a city, or where I live in a smaller city, and you get a mix of things down here versus what you get up there. But you come from this with a very unique perspective, just being out there in Mount Shasta, and you're going to have your mystery school opening in the fall for new initiatives, so they can do what you're talking about to unlock their divine destiny and increase their synchronicity. What's going to go on in that mystery school?
Yeah, well, synchronicity increases a lot for all of my students. That's like the number one kind of feedback I get from all of them, is just how fast the synchronicity starts speeding up. It's an online school, so people from all over the world join, and then they come once or twice a year to meet me here in person and work directly with me and the mountain and the environment here. But through my activations that I give online through the school, what we're doing is opening to the soul wisdom and your innate intelligence, so that you can be fully guided and turn on your inner navigation system and tune to it, so that you can trust it, and to let go of all of the kind of negative programming or faulty programming of fear and subordination and all the ways in which we've been controlled to shut that down. So
it's almost like you teach them to do within themselves. I mean, it's not really within themselves, but within themselves, what your father was doing for you after he died.
Interesting. Yes, I'm helping them to, listen and tune in. Yeah, my father, that was interesting because he was more the catalyst for me to figure it out. It was 9 years of massive shamanic initiations for me to learn how to really hone these multidimensional realities. So when you start to wake up that life is more than just this 3D experience that we're having, it takes a while for your brain and all the belief systems you grew up in to recalibrate to a new stability. And for me, that it took many years of recalibration and just sticking with it. And it was all through synchronicity that guided me to the right people, the right places, the right countries, to hone that. And now through the school, I'm helping a lot of people to do that for themselves, so that they don't have to travel all over the world to find those hidden gems that took me many years to find.
That's cool. What I hear you say, and at least I hear you say, is that almost without planning it, they get involved with you, your students get involved with you and start seeing a lot of synchronicities, and these synchronicities do for them, with help and understanding what they did for you, is guide them to be able to use their inner capacities while also giving up the old beliefs that we've all been programmed into. And I'm going to go back on that old belief thing. I'm a psychiatrist, and I was seeing this patient and his wife, who have also started seeing, and they're seeing them together yesterday. And I've known them all for 3 or 4 years. And they brought their son in, who was playing a video game, while I was trying to talk with both of them about an intractable fundamental set of problems they have, one of which is that he always thinks he's right and wonderful and can't take criticism and deflects it and blames her. And it happened again. And it was in my office, and I've been getting more and more open to people and nature and things. And I walked out of there really upset and irritable. And I think I walked into an old set of frameworks about the way reality was told for us to believe it, that there was a set of rules that they were going by that were really distorted. And I had my head into it, deeply into it in that room. And I had to get out of it. And coming home and talking to a good friend of mine and being among the trees helped loosen my head from my mind from being in that very rule-bound, awful, twisted place.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a kind of what you're talking about. You help your students do, is to be able to be there, know where they are, and then get out of there. And then synchronicities are one of the ways that guides them out.
Yeah, well, I think that we have a critical issue on the planet where people have lost the meaning of life or purpose. Right?
Yes.
They're just going to work and they're fulfilling the duties that they thought were their duties or
yes.
that they were raised, and they're finding themselves extremely depressed and sick and ill, and there's got to be more to life, right? And there really is, but how do you listen to that, and how do you find that? And spiritual practices are kind of like for entitled people of leisure.
That's right. And
right?
I love that. For entitled people, for entitled people of leisure, we're coming to the end of this segment. That's a great line. I think it's really true. You are listening to Connecting with Coincidence with your host, Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD, on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, and our guest today is Amelia Aeon Karris.
From our broadcast studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, to the world and beyond, you're watching the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
AVS Media.
You have heard of the X-Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X-Zone, sci-fi, and horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world, interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Rob McConnell here, presenting an overview for Nicholas Paul Jennings, author of a fascinating book, Amen. It presents facts revealed by Egyptologists, facts that enable us to understand why Amen is the beginning of creation of God. It provides recommendations for religious leaders of the major religions to unify their beliefs and teach the Word of God. Love one another. Amen informs people how mankind conceived God. It was the Egyptians that developed the concepts of a soul, a hereafter, and Son of God. And finally, after the worship of many gods, they conceived the belief in one universal God, the maker of all there is. For more information, visit www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com.
Welcome back to CC with BB, Connecting with Coincidence, with your host, Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD. Our guest today is Amelia Aeon Karris, the author of Synchronicity, Unlock Your Divine Destiny. We're talking about spiritual practices being the purview of the moneyed class. Let's talk about that a little bit more and what you're doing about that.
Yeah, well, I think that, people stay so busy and so entrapped in just the hustle, right? Like paying the rent, paying the bills, making things happen, that to meditate or to take time out to reflect or go on a retreat or even just a vacation, for a lot of people feels like they can only do that when they've retired or when they've got money. And it's really sad for me because I see that as like a dark oppression program to keep us entrapped and enslaved. And I find that, for me, because of the way I was raised, I was primarily raised myself. I was severely neglected as a child. So I didn't grow up with the constraints that a lot of people did, where they had to follow the rules, like go to school for a certain time or get married and stay in these boxes. So I was very rebellious and sort of had the world as my oyster. So I could watch from sort of outside the box. People were getting trapped, and it made me so sad. And I knew that I didn't want, my spirit was not here to be entrapped like that. So I've been an entrepreneur since I was 21, and I was able to kind of see that you don't need money to reflect or to be spiritual. But they've trained us to think like that, like it's some sort of privilege to sit back and relax. But if you go to countries like India, where there's so much poverty, you find a very different reality. Like, why are the poor people in India more relaxed and happy, even though they have way less than most of our middle class in America? But their happiness level is way, way higher. And I really pondered that as I traveled the world and saw, like, well, these people are connected to the earth. They have time to just sit and watch the sky and to be with each other and to eat with each other, even though they might only be eating rice. They're eating with someone, and there's more love. And I find, you said a little bit in my bio, I've developed eco-communities because I felt that here in the Western world, we are so, we've been segregated into nuclear families, but even more so now with the divorce rates and sort of what people are waking up to, like, I don't want that nuclear family. So now we have a lot of individuals living alone. And using technology to communicate. So we've been separated so far away from one another, from love. And when we take time to meditate or just walk in nature, we reconnect to love and to that golden network. And so one of my main missions is to bring this awareness to people who think that they can't attain that, like that's one of the reasons why I wrote the book, like to bring it to people who could, maybe afford a book, or if not, get the ebook, or, however I can get the information to people so that they can start right where they are. They don't need to go live in a cave and meditate for years, or remove themselves from society. It's all the small decisions throughout the day. Like, how are they eating their lunch on their break? Are they sitting in their cubicle? Are they going out to the park and connecting with someone? Or are they just looking at a device? Like, all these small choices are what connect us to that golden network and back to, our divinity and our spiritual connection, or separate us further.
I think eating with someone is a pleasure, and particularly if it's in a park, and particularly if it's in a nice day. There's really that's a great thing to do. I remember those days, and not too many of them, but enough to know what you're talking about. When I look at synchronicity and coincidence and meaningful coincidences, they are more direct connectors. Not all of them. There's some ones that are just irrelevant, and there's some that are just okay, but there's some that really tell us about the golden network, tell us about the Earth's mental atmosphere of which we are all a part. And it's through the porthole or the portal of some coincidences that take you to nature, take you outside of yourself, recognize that you're connected to other people, and begin to see how that can happen and that it's a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
That synchronicity, that's why I do this. The synchronicity is a little bit more than eating in the park or making those small decisions, which are really important to do, is to find ways to connect. But the coincidences tell you, look, there's something else going on here. Something that you can't explain by a simple decision of doing the right thing about going to the park instead of staying by yourself. There's something else out there that you're a part of, and these coincidences are telling you about them. They're not just useful, which many of them are, but they're hints, they're little looks into the golden network that you're talking about.
Yeah,
so
that's the point there, right there, though. It's like, where is it guiding you?
And somewhere in there is your idea, the idea for you and your purpose in this world. And that finding that purpose in this world for you is what we all tend to be searching for. Mine is to refine the ideas about synchronicity. That's my job. You have a job that we're talking about now too. It's what you're doing to help people find their way to where they're going is part of what coincidences do for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for me, it's more about just knowing the self, like knowing who you are on a soul level, and allowing your soul to fully descend and take up your rightful place. I think that we're living at a time that's very dire. I mean, we're going through some massive changes on the earth, and if we're all just stressed out, adrenals fatigued, and busy, and stuck glued to screens, we're missing out on what we're supposed to be doing here. And so I think if we can't slow down and really dive into ourselves and realize that you're born at a time and a place, and that's extremely important. Like, every single person here has a piece of a puzzle of this tapestry of the golden network. And if we can remember what our specific piece is and bring that forward, there's so much beauty, so much joy, so much love to be shared. And that's my purpose, is to help people wake up to the peace that they're holding.
Yes, that's good. Wake up to the peace they're holding. Something else you mentioned is to protect psychic children as part of your mission. I was at a dance thing. I like to dance, and as you heard, and I saw this girl that was probably about 7 or 8 or 9, and I began to feel like I do feel sometimes like Professor X of the X-Men. I kind of identify with that role, and one of the stories in the X-Men was he and became his enemy, went to visit a teenager who had psychic powers. And I looked at that girl and I asked who her mother was, just to get some idea about her. There was something special about her. She had something, that 8 or 9-year-old girl. I wanted to talk to her, but I didn't want to be pushy about it. But there are those kids out there. And how are you finding them, and how are you protecting them?
Well, interestingly enough, they find me most of them. And the way that I work with them is generally to help them develop their gifts, to not be scared. So a lot of the kids, they're seeing so much, a lot of, energetic realm stuff that their parents don't understand. So either their parents find me, or the kids themselves will just walk straight up to me and introduce themselves and know who I am and know that they were waiting for me. I had a whole group of psychic children in India assign me as their ambassador, and they had their own association. So I was a spokesperson for them. And ironically, they're all dancers as well. I am also a dancer. So there's that connection there that, it comes through dance a lot. But
let's put the pause button on there for a minute, because dance has become very, very important to me. And when you talk about community and you talk about love, every dance thing I go to has a different quality. It depends on the playlist and the people who show up, and also depends on how dark or light it is too, night or day. There's a big difference between night and day, and the feeling in those rooms is wonderfully remarkable and is nurturing to all of us there. It is a playing out of what we're talking about, this feeling of connectedness with other people, a feeling of love with other people. It's remarkable. And then now you're a dancer and they were dancers. We're coming to the end of this segment, so I want to be able to talk about dancing and spiritual development and understanding this golden network better in our next segment. But there really is something to it. I don't like being away from dance. There's something that it nurtures me with. You're listening to Connecting with Coincidence with your host, Bernie Beitman, MD, on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. And our guest today is Amelia Aeon Karris, author of Synchronicity, Unlock Your Divine Destiny.
You have heard of the X-Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X-Zone, Sci-Fi, and Horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
The new nonfiction book, Razor of Madness, is similar to cult movies like Clockwork Orange, Dragon's Tattoo, or The Other Side of Hell. Wayne Morin Jr. and Thomas Lee Howe will expose widespread and systematic deficiencies in this thought-provoking tell-all novel. Mind control rages among scholars in law schools. Human rights are ignored while thought reform and mental manipulation are accepted practices used as behavior modification. Dr. Louis Jolyon West comes to mind. Media and public scrutiny shows that United States mental hospitals are in fact destructive murder industries. Razor of Madness expose novel details this epidemic through an in-depth professional and personal investigation. For decades, there has been a revolving door policy that still releases killers and pedophiles back into society. The maestro of mind control continues to haunt America to this very day. Razor of Madness is available in paperback or as a downloadable ebook at Amazon.com.
The concept of a new age has been around since the late 19th century, yet much of its original meaning has been lost. What exactly is the new age? Is it a religion, a collection of obscure esoteric practices, a series of doomsday predictions, or an astrological event? The New Age Chronicles is a unique, complementary publication bringing reason and grounded information to separate fact from fiction. Chock full of valuable information to support you as we make the monumental shift into the new era. You won't want to miss a single innovative issue. The New Age Chronicles newspaper is coming soon to www.newagechronicles.com.
Welcome back to Connecting with Coincidence with your host, Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD, and that is me. And we're talking to Amelia, Aeon, Karris about synchronicity and dance. And she dances, I dance, and she had a group of children in India who also dance. And when I dance, this dance is called conscious dance, and you can do whatever you want. And a lot of times it's a kind of doing it by yourself, meditation by movement thing, but it's also interacting with people, not only individually, but also the whole group. We dance with each other in the whole group. And a lot of telepathic and certainly energetic exchanges take place there. It's a lot of energy exchanges where we need to give our energy and receive it from other people. What's dance for you?
Yeah, well, dance to me is allowing the spirit to merge into the body and liberate the physical form. So it's through dance where I feel the most alive and awake and embodied, where I can really feel the spirit and like my cells wake up, and I can feel it from head to toe and really activate this physical form. So it's the closest thing I can get to true liberation inside my body. So it's really important to me.
Activate the physical form. What is that experience like?
It's a feeling of, so for me, when I close my eyes in meditation, I see an entire universe opens, and my body contains all the stars of a universe. And so when I'm dancing and moving, I feel that I'm orchestrating sort of this heavenly dance inside myself. It's so interesting to find words for, but I feel that like joy and love and this interconnectedness, it's just like a miracle, how our physical body communicates inside ourselves without us trying to, tell the heart to pump and push oxygen out. It just happens, right? It's just this miracle of life. And so when I'm dancing, I feel that miracle very much alive in my cells, and I feel the freedom, and I release the mind completely and move into that law of rhythm where it's just vibration and movement and fluidity. And I start to really tap into that golden network. Feels very alive and malleable, like I can interact with it. And I liked what you were saying about the group dance and just moving to move. I think that, so many of us were programmed to sit still or to be contained and to not dance, especially in the West. People don't tend to dance as just normally, most people, unless they've grown up dancing, they're not particularly comfortable. There's a lot of I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for?
Self criticism.
Exactly. Like they're ashamed or embarrassed or just so overly aware of themselves. They feel so awkward in their own skin.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to find to embody, so to really ground into your physical form, to claim your vehicle. And I think that's, most people are living outside their physical body. They're living in their mind or in just above their head. And especially if there's been a lot of trauma in the body, that people just flee the body. And so when you do that, you open yourself up to all kinds of other disease and distortions where, some other energy is going to take home in that body. So I really encourage people to dance. I also teach a form of healing dance for people to reclaim the places inside themselves that they've abandoned. And when we have pain and issues and trauma, we store them in our body, and we see that in medical science, like cancer and autoimmune issues and things like that, where we've stored our trauma, we've hidden the anger away, the sadness, the grief, and it's manifested as disease. And when we dance and move, we can reach those places and unlock those closets where all our skeletons are, and really give voice to them, reclaim those spaces, so we can be more fluid in our system, more happy in our life, and find more joy and really clear out. So I think it's important to move and to let our spirit free roam inside of our body.
And when you started talking about dance, it was almost like I could hear you imagining your body and the universe being merged, that your body became at least many stars, many constellations, and that you were dancing as if you were part of the whole thing, which you are.
Yeah, and I think it gives the closest feeling to the multidimensional nature. Dance, it's like becoming water. Water fills in the gap between us, right? Like if we're in a pool together, we're connected through the water, right? That space is no longer empty. That looks empty. And I think dance, when you dance and you're an aware dancer, you're able to see the space between, like if you're doing partner dance, you're very aware of the partner's foot, the hands. You have to correlate to this unseen, invisible mapping, right? Like the coordinates of the map, like you're moving in tandem with your partner, and all of a sudden you're becoming aware of how much distance is between you and the other, and closing in those gaps or making the connections. And I just think it's a really great practice for the mind to take a back seat, and for the innate knowing and the body wisdom to take over, which is so far intelligent than our mind.
A lot to that. I enjoy how we come from pretty distant poles from each other, that you had to go out in the world on your own. And in a way, I did too, but I did it by going to a lot of schools for a long time. I was institutionalized for 50 years, 45 years, and I'm a recovering academic being outside of it. But even within it, I was an observer. I was watching it, but I was still contained by it. And now I've gotten some more liberation from it in a kind of clumsy ways, but I am out here now. And what happens in dance, not only just individually, that usually people start on their own and dance by themselves and get tuned into the music. And I just really get with the music. But then I really like to observe what's going on. Unlike what you do is get fully immersed, which I do sometimes. I like watching what's going on. It's part of my training is to observe and try to correlate and make categories. It's just what I do. And I'm not going to not be able to do that. It's what I've been doing. So I see that the partnership happening across a room. Like there could be somebody that I saw that I'd like to be able to dance with, and there's been distance. We never talk, and then things happen that we became dance after dance get a little closer and closer, and then we're dancing with each other. And I could feel her energy. She could probably feel mine. And so I like observing how this energy gets felt across the room. Then there are times when the room is filled with love, partly because there may be a couple of partners who are really being loving with each other, and it generates a loving feeling in the room. And the one time that happened dramatically, nobody wanted to leave.
So sweet.
Yeah, it was. And it's in a concrete way talking about what you're talking about that can happen in the world. So you start seeing that dancing is what we're all doing out here if we just would notice it, and then we could dance even better with each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think dance, for someone who is comfortable with dance, they're going to be more comfortable moving through life. It's just kind of like an embodiment practice that keeps you very much in your body. I mean, it could be the same with, athletes or yoga, but because dance is so fluid, and I guess we should preface it by certain types of dance.
Yes, we have it. The conscious dance I do is do whatever you feel. Mm-hmm. It's not like doing the rumba or something, or samba or something.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, but you do notice like dancers tend to be more in their body, right? More confident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes less confident in their ability to talk, to communicate. And that's not always true, but I see.
Dance is communication. In India, the dance was the communication of the gods.
Yeah. Oh, it was a communication of the gods.
It is the way the gods communicate through dance. I mean, they taught the classical dance for a way to communicate with the gods.
That's and it's a way to communicate with each other. We're coming to the end of this wonderful conversation, and the nonverbal communication with the gods, the nonverbal communication with each other. To me, the energy in the room and the energy between people is the most fascinating part of it. Mm. Well, this has been delightful talking with you, Amelia. Thank you for being on the show, and I just enjoy how we come from two different training viewpoints in all of this, and it's great to hear what your experience has been. You've been listening to Connecting with Coincidence with your host Bernie Beitman, MD, on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, and our guest has been Amelia Aeon Karris, author of Synchronicity: Unlock Your Divine Destiny.
Modern Esoteric, Beyond Our Senses by Brad Olson, consummates the lifeology story about where humanity originates. It is the lost continents, the primitive wisdom, the mythos of creation, and the rethinking of ancient history as we are taught in academia. There is much more to the story than what we have been told. As this is the first book in the Esoteric series, Modern Esoteric starts at the beginning of time and accelerates up to this modern age. Future Esoteric is book 2 in the series and takes a forward-looking position ahead of today with an open and honest examination of the ET issue and various unexplained phenomena. To discover the writings of author Brad Olson, visit www.bradolson.com. That's www.bradolson.com. Are you or is someone you know struggling with addictions, depression, anxiety, relationships, low self-esteem, lack of confidence, grief, success, and prosperity? Do you know that your subconscious belief plays a big role in the outcome of your hard work? We can help you permanently change the beliefs that may be the reason for your struggles and failures. We care about getting you the return on your investment and the results you are looking for. We can help you be free of the limitations of your past and in realizing your highest potential. We work with people by phone and Skype. For more information, visit us at www.ritasoman.com. That's www.ritasoman.com. Do you think you have energy problems in your home? Do you feel better when you're away than when you're home? Joey Korn is a global leader in the world of dowsing who specializes in personal energy clearing and space clearing. He can help you create an ideal energy environment in your home no matter where you live in the world. Learn about his remote spiritual house cleaning services and much more at www.dowsers.com. You can get Joey's book, Dowsing, A Path to Enlightenment, as well as other dowsing books and tools, Kabbalah books, and Walter Russell books. Joey's work is really amazing. Go to dowsers.com right now. That's DOWSERS.com or call 1-877-DOWSING. That's 1-877-369-7464.